Anybody been to San Diego? We have a small group, so I think we'll just keep it casual today. Few of you. All right, good. Did you enjoy San Diego?
We haven't been to the center, but
That's okay. Do you know San Diego actually, do you know what San Diego means? Anybody? San Diego, do you know what it means?
San means without, right?
San means without?
In French, I think.
Oh, in French, you're right. That's French.
Okay. Saint. A saint. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
One meaning is Saint Diego. All right. Do you know there's a famous Swami who passed away in San Diego? Do you know who he was? Swami Chinmayananda.
Oh.
Anybody know Swami Chinmayananda?
Yes, yeah.
He actually passed away in San Diego. And when he passed away, his disciples have referred to San Diego as San Diego, San Diego, where ego dies and San, and you become a saint. San stands for saint, Saint Diego, saint. So San Diego, ego dies and you become a saint. Can you tell me, where's the one place in India that they say, if you pass away, leave your body, you get automatically liberation, mukti? Yes, Banaras, Kashi, yes, yes. So they consider San Diego the Kashi of USA. So I don't know if that's true or not, but anyways, so we think we are, if you pass away there, this is, Sri Ramakrishna said this, if you pass away in San Diego, in Kashi, yeah, so maybe San Diego too now. So,
excuse me, Swami, can you just make sure the people online can hear?
oh, can everybody online hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Nod your head if you
Or
can
give
hear
a
me.
thumbs up.
You can hear me? Yes? No?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, yes, okay, they can hear me. All right.
Thank you, sorry.
They're shy over there. So today's topic is about serving the divine in human beings. It's a practice of karma yoga. How many people make that a practice in our own spiritual life? Serving the divine in human being? A few of you. Okay. So I'd say probably the majority of us try to make this a practice as an arsenal in our spiritual practice. How many of you are successful in doing this?
How do we know?
So today we're going to explore a little bit, what does it mean to serve the divine in human beings? We make it a practice. And what do you think when you do it? What do you feel? What do you feel after you do it? When you do this practice?
Peaceful.
You feel happy? Anybody else?
Happy, peaceful.
And
It's the joy. All right.
you truly feel the joy.
You feel a joy. Okay. We're going to come back to you guys after we go through this talk to see if we really feel joy when we serve God in human beings. The reason I brought this practice is because this past 2 years, I've been getting trained to serve as a chaplain, hospital chaplain at UC San Diego. So I actually I went to Harvard for a year and studied chaplaincy and spiritual counseling. And then I came back and my professors thought I did really well in the classes and they wanted me to encourage me to keep going on. So there's a program called CPE, Chaplain Pastoral Experience. It's the equivalent to what we call a residency program in a medicine. So in medicine, you do a medical residency. In chaplain, there's a chaplain residency where you basically start in September, middle of September, you finish in the middle of April, you serve about 30 hours per week. What I mean by that is you actually do about 20 hours of service in the hospital, or I'll tell you other places I served. And then you have homework, you have individual counseling with your supervisor every day, not every day, Once a week, you have a group of other cohorts. So we're in a class of 7 people from different traditions: Christianity, Catholicism, Buddhism. So they're all different ministers from coming to learn chaplaincy, specifically hospital chaplaincy. It's a 4-year program. It's very intense.
Mhm.
It's not, it's not just like volunteering in a hospital, and you learn to make a spiritual assessment. You learn to diagnose a patient. What is their spiritual assessment? You learn interventions. What are the interventions we can offer to aid the patient? And we learn to look for outcomes. What we're doing basically is the physicians handle the medical pain, the physical pain. What we deal is with the emotional and mental pain. There's an idea in Buddhism called 2 arrows. Anybody heard the 2 arrows of Buddha? The first arrow is the actual pain, the physical pain that you experience. The second arrow is our reaction to that physical pain, sort of our interpretation of that pain. And an example can be something like, I had a patient who had lost part of her foot. Okay, she can still walk, everything like that, but she lost part of her foot. And she started thinking about, not the physical pain, but she started thinking about the pain of like what it feels like, what it's going to look like for her now. And will her husband be accepting of her? She felt about, she's walking with a limp, and she's going to be a burden on her family. The emotional stress that was causing her to be a burden on her family. What about what's she now going to, she felt she's always going to be having a limp all her life now. How would people treat her? They treat her as a physically challenged person. All this was coming up within her. So this is what we call the second arrow. And that's what we as chaplains are meant to deal with. We're meant to deal with the emotional. Sometimes that pain is much more than the actual physical pain itself. So that's what we're trained to look at. And when I was doing this, I'm spending a lot of time. I'm spending about 25, 30 hours of my week working and serving. I actually sort of run the San Diego Vedanta Center. I'm spending all this time. So now how can I incorporate this as a part of my spiritual practice? I've got to make this, integrate this into my practice. Otherwise, is it going to be useless time? So we're going to explore, what does it mean to serve the divine in human beings?
Mhm.
And this concept, do I have my PowerPoint here?
Yes.
Okay, your screen share so that people in the Zoom can also see the PowerPoint here.
Did you get the PowerPoint?
So one of the things then, and so one of the things that this offered me to do was, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You got to press, you got to press slideshow. Go to slideshow there, yeah, and then go to, yes, right, perfect. Now you go.
All
Right, no problem. Then, yeah. All right.
There we go.
Okay, so people can zoom your screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's go to the next slide. Just
Oh, okay, this is not.
there we go. So my second year doing this. First year, I was working in the hospital full time. Second year, I decided I'm spending all this time in the hospital. I'm forsaking my time for the community that I should be serving. So then I asked my supervisor, is there any way that I can do chaplaincy to our Vedanta community? So my supervisor is a very gifted, she's a teacher who's coming up with called spiritual aim, different techniques to help diagnose. She's on the cutting edge of chaplaincy. So she said, yeah, let's do it. Let's offer this to your community. So we created this called Vedantic Chaplaincy and Spiritual Care. The reason we did this is, first of all, when you go to a hospital, you'll notice if you have a chaplain, most chaplains are Christian or Catholic, majority of chaplains. You get very, very rarely get a Jewish chaplain or a Buddhist chaplain or Muslim chaplain. So and then when you look at in the entire United States, there are about 20 qualified Hindu chaplains in the USA. There are people that work as volunteers, but to actually go through this 4-year training program and come out as a certified, what we call CPE chaplain, there's only 20 in the United States. So we have a lack of really qualified people who can actually give the expertise of counseling and chaplaincy. So I was like, well, we need to offer this to our community. So she allowed me to do this and allowed it to our community, and then also online. So what started happening is that people, we offered it through Zoom. We also offered it to San Diego locality. So what happened was we got San Diego people, but then there's a lot of people that were coming from the Zoom from all over the United States, Indiana, Texas, with different types of problems. And whenever I put out like month by month, these are the openings I have every Tuesday from 1-hour openings from 8 to 5. Within 3 days, it was filling up the whole month. There was such a need for people to be able to want to talk, want to express, want to share their problems and the difficulties they're facing, especially, and this is new to the Indian community. Usually in the Indian community, we don't think of therapy. We don't think of going to like a therapist or a psychologist. Traditionally, it's been done in-house. Usually we've had the extended family system. We have our extended family we go to, and we don't have that system anymore. So we've got to develop new systems. Let me just make one thing. It is important, when I found, so in order to do this type of practice, you need to, if you do service, what you definitely need to find, what I found out you need to do is you need to have some self-care. You cannot do service at an optimal level if you don't taking care of yourself. So, in our order, it's called Atmano Mokshartam Jagadhitaya Cha, for one's own liberation and for the service and welfare of the world. You have to do the Atmano Mokshartam, you have to do the self-care. You have to take care of your own Atman in order to help serve others. So in the airport, what do they normally tell you when you're in the airplane about the oxygen mask?
Yeah, I have
First
heard of
yours,
it.
and then others, kids and others. So it's important, because what will happen if you don't do the self-care, you know what's going to happen? You're going to burn out. This is just a fact. Second thing, you're not going to be giving optimal self-care, optimal care to others. Third thing, you're going to find this thing we call practice of karma yoga, serving the divine and others, becoming a burden to you. You're going to get aggravated. You're going to start feeling that what was something done out of love is now something done as an obligation. It's a sense of duty. And when it becomes a sense of duty, that's what happens to volunteers that come to the temple. You start off like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do something. I love it. I want to offer my love. And after a while, if you're not getting joy out of it, it becomes a sense of a duty, an obligation. You regret coming. And eventually you just stop showing up. So in order to do seva, in order to serve the divine, we have to maintain ourselves. Now, what I found is that for me, this has been 2 years of doing this. I've had to experiment a lot. For me, what I found, the best way to do self-care is what I call take your meds. Take your meds. It's an acronym, MEDS. Can anybody tell me like what they think M stands for?
Meditate.
Meditate, yes. You have to have some simple meditation practice, some simple mindfulness practice that you do every day. Whether you're getting anything out of it, doesn't matter. 5 minutes, okay, fine. But do something constantly. That's the time that you start emptying out your mind in that meditation. Start reflecting. The stuff starts coming out. E, what does E stand for? Exercise. You may think that it's not important. How many people exercise? Just let's show of hands. How many on a daily basis? Okay. So half the room does it. Half the room doesn't. I can tell you it's really important to exercise. What started helping me when I was doing this is I started taking walks. I do exercise. I exercise every day. The people here can tell you wherever I go. First thing I ask them, where's your local gym? I'll go to the gym. I'll get up at 5 in the morning. I'll go exercise. It's just a habit. I won't break. I'll do this. It is taking my meds, my daily meds. But one thing I discovered what helped was that I would take long walks in nature for whatever you can, but 1 hour or half an hour to 1 hour. It just resets the system. Today we went to Stone Mountain and we had a silent walk where we walked up all the way, tried to do in silence, up the mountain doing our japa. It's just, as you walk, there's the touching of the earth. It resets the system. It grounds you. You have to do this. M-E-D. What does D stand for? What? Devotion? Discipline? Okay. What? Diet. You have to watch your diet. We talk about sattvic diet. At least the idea is that you can't take things that are going to weigh you down. I mean, we all know this, especially lunchtime. After lunch, try to work. You have to eat light. You just have to eat. You just have to watch your diet. And S, what's the S stand for? Sleep. See, you're just like, you need your sleep. He's just yawning right now. Otherwise, you can't be optimally awake. You need the sleep. Also, S stands for support. Why I mention support here is that what I've discovered in chaplaincy, you have a lot, we deal with a lot of patients, a lot of things are going on, and you get a lot of, there's sometimes interactions are good, sometimes they're not good. And you start to carry this. It's good to have one or two people you can openly talk to empty yourself out. You need to find that. So that's it. Take your meds, all right? Now, this concept of serving the divine in human beings originated from this Sanskrit sloka here from Ramakrishna. It's called, can you guys read it? Jiva Gyane, Jiva Seva. Serving, what does Jiva mean? Anybody?
The person.
Us. I mean, it really means like embodied beings.
Yeah.
So literally the actual term Jiva, we hear it focusing on people, but it can be even animals, it can be, embodied beings, even plants or Jivas. Serving humans here, we're focusing on humans, as God, as Shiva.
Seems backwards though, like the Seva means serving, and Jiva is the humans. Right?
Yeah, but Sanskrit, but yeah, Jiva Gyane, so with the consciousness of you're serving God, serve the human beings. With consciousness of the Jiva is God, serve the human beings. Okay, that's the idea. And so this idea came from Sri Ramakrishna, and I just want to take you a little bit where it came from. I'm actually giving you something that is a 3-hour kind of retreat I had done just in 2 days ago in Cleveland. So we're gonna, because we have 1 hour or 45 minutes now, we're just gonna go through it fairly quickly. I just want to give the seeds of the idea, and you can work them out. All right. So Ramakrishna, before we get there, Sri Ramakrishna was talking about, he was in a discussion, he's talking about the Vaishnava tradition, the tradition of bhakti. And in this, he said that, that in the Vaishnava tradition, 3 things are important. One is to have love for God's name. Name ruchi. Get a taste for God's name. So the idea is God's name and God are one and the same. Start developing a taste, according to Vaishnava tradition, with your mantra. Second thing he said was Vaishnava Sevan. Serve the devotees of God. Serve the devotees of God. So you'll see in ISKCON, they love serving the devotees, feeding them prasad. And the third thing he said was Sarva Jividaya. Sarva Jividaya. And I'll translate this. When he said Sarva Jividaya, he went into samadhi. So Sarva Jividaya is normally translated Daya. Does anybody know what Daya is translated as? Daya?
Mercy.
Compassion. It's probably So have compassion for all beings. Have compassion for all beings. When he said this, went to samadhi. When he came out of samadhi, this is what happened. He said daya. And I'm going to translate this daya actually as sympathy. And I'll explain why. Daya, sympathy for all beings. How foolish to speak of daya, sympathy. Human beings are as insignificant as worms crawling on the earth. And they are to show daya, sympathy to others? That's absurd. It must not be daya, sympathy, but seva, compassionate service to all. Recognize all as manifestations of God and serve them as such. This is what he said coming out of samadhi. As chaplains, one of the things we're trained to do is we're trained to hear the emotion behind the word. As Ramakrishna is saying this, to me, it seems like he's starts off with a little bit of like irritation. Daya for all beings. How foolish to speak of daya. And as he keeps going, he seems to be getting more and more aggravated until he gets to this climax that they're as insignificant as we're crawling on the earth. They're to show daya to others? That's absurd. Why do you think he was irritated here? Why was he irritated when he's saying not daya, but seva, not sympathy, but compassionate service?
It puts you in a different position. When you have sympathy for someone, it's almost like you're in a higher is not the word I want to use. And then if you're giving service, then you are subservient to the person rather than. Does that make sense? What
Absolutely. That's it. You hit it right on the head. Yes.
Patronizing.
Patronizing. Exactly. So this is really what Jyoti was saying here is that daya, this concept of sympathy, there's a sense of hierarchy, that you're looking below at the person, offering like, I'm greater than you and I'm offering something to you. What was the term you used there?
Patronizing.
Patronizing. It's patronizing. It's what we call, it's giving a kind of like a feeling of sense of pity and sorrow to the person. You're saying something that's just to make you feel better, not to make the other person feel better. It's something you're doing out of a sense of obligation, sense of like you really just you want to say something, and you're saying something, and then you're hoping it'll just go away. You know, sometimes one of our devotees was telling me that he was telling his boss, it's like that all these deadlines were coming up, and he's feeling this pressure of doing the work. And he goes to the boss, I have all these deadlines. Can I get some help somewhere? And the boss says, that's okay. You're smart. You'll be able to figure it out. And then left and went on his way. And the person left, the employee left, feeling just felt angry and irritated. Sometimes we hear something like a statement where that maybe someone tells you that my child didn't get into college, maybe my child didn't get into this university. And we may say, well, that's okay. At least your other kid got into a university. We try to reframe the situation. We try to patronize the person. We don't really do what's called compassionate service. What I mean by compassionate service and what Ramakrishna meant by seva here is compassion is identifying with the person's problem, really understanding their needs. It's empathizing, it's feeling a resonance with that person. And then it's being moved to do something about it. And then doing something about it through action to help eliminate the pain of that person. That is compassion. So why Ramakrishna was so irritated was he really was irritated about the egotism of the giver. He was irritated about the egotism that the person's giving. There's a sense of like, when I'm giving, are we giving because this sense of superiority complex that we feel when we're giving. This is what Ramakrishna wanted to eliminate. The sense that this person is dependent on me. I'm the savior. I'm the one with the answers. I can fix you. Here's what you need to do. He wanted to get rid of that sense of egotism as Daya. He wanted to get rid of the sense of power that you feel as a giver. The sense that I'm above, looking below you. I'm calling the shots. I'm the expert. You should listen to me. I'm the one paying for this. You have to do what I say. I have something you don't have. Look how magnanimous I am. He wanted to get rid of the sense of prestige and pride of the giver. The sense that I'm such a good person. I serve my parents. Look what a good boy I am. He wanted to get rid of the sense of entitlement of the giver. The sense that after I've given you something, you owe me. Look what I've done for you. Show me some gratitude. Show me some love. This is what Ramakrishna wanted to get rid of, that sense of egotism that the giver displays. And
that Vivekananda also said that if you are doing something, thank them for giving that opportunity for you.
Yes, we'll get into that. Yes, the sense of gratitude. That comes, yes, that develops from this. You're correct. So can you think of, we all do this. Let me just give some examples of maybe where it can come. Have you ever held the door for someone as they're walking by? And maybe that person doesn't even say thank you after they walk by? Or maybe they don't even acknowledge you? How does that make you feel? Interesting. You say interesting. Oh, that's a Gandhi approach. It's really, that's an advanced approach. Interesting. There's still, I don't know if there's a sense of judgment, but so even sometimes, look in the, I'll give you a classic example in our temples in Hollywood, for example. We have devotees who come and cook, and then they'll cook and they'll have the food offered to God. And then what happens? Afterwards, then the Swami will be there, the senior Swami, it's like these very senior Swamis, and maybe the senior Swami doesn't taste the food. Maybe the Swami doesn't get a chance to eat the food. The devotees will get a little bit irritated. What? I've cooked all this food and the Swami doesn't even eat this food? Why? We have to ask, are we serving God or are we serving our own selves? Is there a subtle sense of egotism that comes up when we're actually giving? Let me give you another example that's more concrete. Last year, last summer, yes. My mother had a shoulder replacement. So our year ends in June, and then we have a little summer off. So I decided, so my mom personally had her surgery after that. So then she was in the nursing facility. So I had to come home and then take care of my father and mother. When I got to my parents' place, I noticed my father had aged quite a bit, a little bit. He slowed down. So I felt, okay, I'll take care of everything. I told him, I'll take care of everything, Dad. So I felt like, okay, I'll call the shots. Let's start doing, I'll handle everything. And I started telling my dad, you're gonna have to wake up this time. We're gonna have to go see Mom at this time. This is what you need to eat. And this is what you have to do. And as I kept doing this, my father started pushing back. And finally he said, I've been taking care of myself all my life. Who are you to take care of me? He said, I don't need your help. And I remember that in my intention of serving the divine human being, thinking, I'm a chaplain. I've served patients. I can serve my parents. And I found that I felt like Arjuna in the battlefield. I felt like my intentions were good, but I felt like I was getting wiped out every day. And then I started feeling unappreciated. I feel like I've come here, I'm trying to do all this stuff, and I'm just getting yelled at. Who needs this?
Oh, I get
Then
that.
something hit me. Was I serving his needs, or was I serving my own needs? Was I serving my own need of trying to be the good son, of showing that I can handle things? And now I've matured into this person that can take care of people. Or was I not meeting his need of a sense of autonomy, of a sense of respect, of a sense of purpose? So instead of making demands, I started making requests. I started asking my dad, Dad, would it be okay if we left at this time? Dad, would it be okay if I drove you to your appointments? Dad, what would you like to eat? As I did this, the armor shell that he had started falling off, and he started becoming more vulnerable and open. And then I also started becoming more open too. There was more heart-to-heart discussion. So this is what we call is compassionate service. And this is the sense of that, it's not daya, it's not sympathy, it's seva. We have to eliminate the egotism. So what Sri Ramakrishna did here, in one sense, is he took it from the me-centered to a person-centered approach. Instead of I, about me, when service, what am I getting out of this? How do I feel this? Are you giving me love as I'm talking to you? Am I seeing noddings of heads? Are you giving me a little bit of gratification? Do I feel validated in what I'm saying to you guys? Or is it about your needs? Is it about the person's needs? So that's what we started seeing what was happening here. And Ruha Hafiz comes up, this talk, he said, even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. So in Ramakrishna's approach, he took us from a self-centered approach to a person-centered approach. Now, guess who was there in this discussion that Sri Ramakrishna had? Swami Vivekananda was there. And what Swami Vivekananda did was he started unpacking this message of Ramakrishna. What did he do? He said, comes out of that discussion he hears from Ramakrishna, and he says, what a wonderful insight I've heard today. This is amazing. He goes on to say that we don't have to retire to the forest. We don't have to practice tapasya in the caves. We don't have to renounce love, family, and friends. We can stay right here in society, and we can serve God in our fellow human beings, and we can realize God that way. We can achieve mukti. We can be liberated through this path. So what Swami Vivekananda is starting to do for us is he takes us from a person-centered approach, serving the person, to now a God-centered approach, to seeing that person as God. And from seva, serving the person, their needs of the person, now making it from seva to puja, serving the person as a worship, serving the person as God and making a worship out of it. That is serving God, serving the divine in human beings. Do you guys get that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It goes on further to say this, that let man, gives us a template for how to serve the divine in human beings. It says, let man do everything he's doing. There's no harm in that. It is sufficient for him first to be fully convinced that it is God that exists, manifested before him as the universe and all beings in it. Just take this statement here. What is he saying here? He's saying that the Vedic dictum, Ego ham huyasam prajayati, I am one. Let me be many, and let me be embodied in all these forms. So the divine, God, has the one divine consciousness is now expressing itself and manifesting itself as each of us. Each of us is the divine. And what Vivekananda is saying here is that first, before you serve, be convinced that who you are serving is the divine. First step. Second, he says then, those with whom he comes in contact with every moment of his life, whom he loves, balabhasha, whom he shows respect, samman, whom he honors, shraddha, and whom he shows kindness, daya, are all he himself. How do you serve the divine in human beings? What are the means? Swamiji is saying these 4 steps. First, know who you are serving is the divine. Second, show them love, respect, honor, and kindness. He's basically saying that the idea here is that as a coach does to an athlete, you should have that type of faith that who you're serving, all power, all knowledge, everything lies within that person. All you're helping them do is helping them manifest that out. You should have the belief as a coach doesn't have, I believe in you. That's what Brother Shankar had, our monk who is here. He believed in everybody. He saw their potential. And he would show them love, respect, honor, and kindness. And in that process, by doing this, this is serving the divine in human beings. And what happens if you do that? Then, if you can look upon all people as God, Shiva, then it says, how can there be an occasion for superiority, for anger, for hatred, or for arrogance? If you can serve human beings as God, your heart will be purified and you will be pure, awake, and free. This is what Swamiji is saying. It sounds like we can all do this, does it not? Do you find any difficulty in what is being said here? What are you saying? Yes or no?
Yeah, difficulty.
What are the difficulties you're finding?
I always have doubts as far as whether I'm doing it correctly. Number one,
Okay.
The attitude doesn't last. Also, so those are 2 challenges that I encounter.
Right. So you brought up a good point here. So let me first make this point here. When you're serving the divine in human beings, this is a spiritual practice, right? All right. How many of you do puja here? Anybody does puja? Okay. So when you do puja, usually puja can last for something like maybe 10 minutes to half an hour, something like that. It's a set time. How many people meditate here? Most people meditate. So usually you meditate in a set time. How many people serve the divine in human beings in a set time? So one of the difficulties we have is it's just an attitude. It's not a practice. To make it a practice, we actually have to do something. We have to be focused in this. It's not just having, usually the Swami say, well, think of the person as God, serve them as God, and then offer the fruits of that service to God. Okay, that's all you do. What we're going to do today is how to make it an actual practice. That's what we're going to do today. And because it's a little short time, I can't get to all of it, but that's what the attempt here. So to make it a practice, it means we start small. To make it a practice, it means who do we practice with? It's easier to practice with strangers as opposed to your own family. Why? Why?
You don't always like your own family.
You don't always like your own family, yes? Anybody else?
I just share a thought here. Brother Sham, when he came here, sometime ago, years ago, I spoke to him, and he said that when you serve your family, you see the God in them. And I started practicing that. Of course, it falls on just like meditation. And then it started helping, and so it's a practice, I feel, and
Okay.
challenging because there are differences.
Right. So let me just give you a sense here. Yes.
I was going to say it's easier to practice with outsiders because you already love your family, most likely. And practicing with somebody who you don't know grows your levels of, I guess, empathy, because you have no connection to this person. You already know you love your mom or your brother or your sister. So that's already there.
Okay.
But practicing with somebody different is maybe more challenging, which is probably better for you.
I'll address that.
I think when it comes to family, there's that attachment that sometimes makes you want to intervene more than necessary, whereas with strangers, you have a little bit of that space.
Yes.
Attachment that makes it easier to give the empathy.
Attachment makes it easier to create empathy?
Without the attachment.
Oh, without, yes, okay, yes, without attachment. So it's harder. Yes, with family, yes, yeah?
Yeah, what I would say is that in our close relationships, there's already a momentum of habits and just the way that we do things that are probably not centered in seeing them as the divine. When you have a new person coming into your field of reference, that's a new slate. There's no history or momentum that's there that you have to work against in order to serve them.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Just to summarize this in general, look what happened to my father when I was serving him in the divine. What happens is that all the triggers come up.
Yeah.
It is much more difficult to serve the family as the divine as opposed to strangers. It's a lot easier for me to go to a hospital and serve strangers, just exactly what you're saying here. You're not bringing your past and scars, your past begs, your past way of seeing your family. So it's because of the attachment, because our expectations are greater. We expect certain things out of our family that we don't expect from other people. In the sense, so the family members are more advanced class, is what I'm telling you. I'm just giving the very practical situation here.
I just want to,
yes.
At least with me, I try to fix what is around me.
You try to
fix.
Yes, yeah, that also happens. That's going to come up. So with our family members, we can't be detached in the same way. Really, as you said, the baggage will be, we'll try, the expectations, the fixing, we think we know the answers. These will all be projected onto them. And in exchange, the triggers will come out. So it's just much more difficult. So it's easier with strangers. And the way then that I saw when I was doing this, serving the divine in human beings, I equated it with serving God in the shrine, right? So the concept here is this, before I turn, the divine, the one divine presence manifests itself into two. There is what we call Nara, Narayana. Both God, Nara is the human being, is us, say the chaplain, the person who's serving. Narayana is the God that's being served. Nara was Arjuna. Narayana was Krishna. Nara was Swami Vivekananda. Narayana was Sri Ramakrishna. Nara is the chaplain. Narayana is God embodied as the patient. As we call maybe the patient, sometimes referred to Narayana Rogi, the sick patient. Narayana, both are God. The God splits itself as the subject and the object. Who is the one doing the serving is Nara. Who's the one receiving the service is Narayana. So when I am serving God in the shrine, it is God as Narayana, in the image Narayana here. I am Nara doing my worship. When I'm with a patient, if I'm the one serving, I am Nara, God, the server. Serving, God, the receiver. So I want to get this down. So when we talk about puja here, we are worshiping God in the image. That same God that's in the image is embodied as each one of us. There's no difference. We have to get this clear in our head now. And that's what we're going to start unpack a little bit here. Right? So Nara, Narayana. Nara is the worshiper. Narayana is God receiving the worship. Nara is us as practicing karma yoga, and Narayana is the people we are serving, right? All God. So when we do puja, we actually do, puja can be simply defined in 3 different stages. And what I found was that these 3 different stages are also the stages that we use in service when we serve another human being. When we're worshiping God, we are also, same process is used in worshiping a human being who is also God. So both Narayana. And I'll just go through this fairly quickly. In puja, there's how many people do puja here? Just as a practice? Anybody? A few. So in puja, there's 3 steps. There's preparation, engagement, and surrender. These are 3 steps in all pujas. Okay. These 3 steps basically can be broken down into purifying ourselves, purifying our senses, setting an intention. What's my puja? What's the purpose I'm doing this worship for? Then Buddha Shuddhi is then emptying ourselves out, emptying ourselves of that past karmic baggage we have, and then Jivanyasa, and then invoking the divine presence in ourselves. And then lastly is the image that we're worshiping, also recognizing that as the divine. This is the process. And then there's offering, seva. But the first process of preparation, this is what we do in puja. And let me tell, and I would like to take you on that journey a little bit of what we do here. So when we purify the senses here, what are we doing here? So you'll find that in the pujaris, they'll be touching their senses. Basically, we're tuning our senses from the material level to a divine level. We have the intention of saying, may my sight be divine. May what I smell be divine. We're tuning ourselves to see the one consciousness, the divinity in the consciousness that's manifesting in all of that. The one light of awareness is in everywhere. We're tuning ourselves to see that. Hearing, we're tuning our ears to hear the pranavahom, the eternal om. The background behind everything is the eternal sound, the Shabda Brahman, the sound of om is there. We're tuning our senses into that. We're tuning our touch to feel the touch of the divine grace that's constantly blowing there. We're tuning our senses from the material to the divine. Sankalpa. In the worship, is an intention. What's your intention in this worship? So in the Ramakrishna order, and it's very simple, the intention basically is that we do the puja as a way basically to remove our impurities and get knowledge and devotion. This is in our Ramakrishna puja. So it can be something like, may that glorious divine divinity manifest in the hearts of people everywhere. May it purge all hearts of impurities, imperfections, and selfishness. May this worship bestow health, happiness, and fulfillment to one and all. So when we do the puja here, we're doing it not only for ourselves, but for the benefit of all. Okay? When sometimes you'll see people, they do puja, they want their kid to get into college, they want something, but in a spiritual way, because we're spiritual aspirants, so we're doing it for basically remove our impurities and give us love and knowledge. In the next step of Buddha Shuddhi here it's a meditation process. Maybe if we have enough time, we can do this, but essentially what we're doing is we're releasing our old karmic software, right? Our limited thinking, our judgments, the way we see the world. There's a saying in puja, Devam Bhutva, Devam Yajet. To worship the divine, you must become divine. To worship the divine, you must become divine. As long as I'm identifying with my body, and I feel I'm a piece of meat, what do I see when I look around? I see other meats, I see other pieces of meat here. If I identify and change myself to feel that I am the spirit, I'm the light of awareness, I'm the light of consciousness, then when I see through this, I start to see other spirits. We view the world by what we value. Ramakrishna talks about this. We see through what we value. What we value becomes real to us. If we value, Ramakrishna, you know what the two things he said that most people value? Kamani kanchan, lust and greed. If you value beauty and wealth, that's what you see. That's what comes into your focus. That's when I look, what stands out, maybe it's the Rolex watch, the Armani suit. And then when I talk with you, I'm valuing time is like, what type of money, what's the exchange I'm getting out of this thing? Or when I look at a picture and I see all these people, what comes out are the beautiful people that come out to me in the focus. The other things lay in the unfocused background. What we value, that becomes real. That's our reality. So by shifting our sense of focus, what do we find real? If you become spiritual, maybe when you look at that same photograph, instead of seeing the beautiful people, what we consider, say, superficial beauty, we start seeing maybe a person who's got that joyful expression on their face, the happy face people. You start to see the mountains in the backgrounds and the joyful sunset. That comes out to your prominence. This is what we value. That is our reality. So what we're doing here is in the Buddha-Shuddhi process is we are dissolving the karmic software that of what we normally see reality through, the lens that what we normally color our reality through. And we're dissolving that, right? And then the next step in puja is called jiva nyasa. Nyasa is a term that has two meanings. Nyasa. Nyasa can mean getting rid of. Sometimes I take about sannyasa. Sannyasa. Sannyasa means, nyasa is getting rid. San means completely. Getting rid of complete, we take we try, this is all an ideal, but we try to get rid of all desires, complete desires. Nyasa means getting rid of. So in one sense, in the first step, Buddha-Shuddhi is we're trying to get rid of all the baggage we've accumulated. Nyasa also has another meaning, meaning to place, to throw, to place. So what we do here is we're invoking the divinity in our new software, a divine software. So that the divine software, we start to see in divine ways. That's what we're doing here. Now, what's our time-wise? Anybody?
So 2 minutes to 8.
All right, so we have to, okay, you let me know. When I'm looking at the faces getting, starting yawning, I'll know when that's the time to stop. Let's get into how this equates to seva here. In seva, what I've discovered is that there's also preparation involved as well. The first preparation here is about grounding and centering yourself. When you're going to meet another human being and you're going to serve them in a practice of serving the divine human being, and let's just make it a practice again. So what I mean is I'm going to pick one person and I'm going to make a practice serving God in that person, and maybe for this fest, they'll be for 10 minutes or 12 minutes. I'm going to make this practice. Before I meet that person, before I meet that patient, I've got to make sure that I'm grounded and centered. What does that mean? It means this. Grounding, literally here, is coming to the present moment. Becoming present. Why am I saying this? Is that there are many times when I'm in the hospital and I was with a patient who had metastatic cancer. So all over his place, less than 2 weeks to live. I met with the patient once, and I remember that in the first meeting I had, I was so joyful. He was Christian. We did the Lord's Prayer together. He was talking about like what he was looking forward to when he's passing away, being in heaven. He was starting to articulate to me like what he thought it would be like, and for him, just a joyfulness of what Christ through him was like. So we had a great day. The second time I went to meet him, I remember as I went there, the patients usually are like 2 or 3 patients in a room. TV was on another patient. The patient I was talking, was getting more distracted. he was not feeling good. And I felt myself like wanting to make him feel better. And the more I wanted to make him feel better, the louder he just was starting to feel. I ended up leaving where I felt like I just felt horrible. I felt like I couldn't do anything to make him feel better. This may be the last time I see him. And I just felt frustrated because I was angry at the other patient with the TV going on. I was irritated that I sensed I couldn't accomplish what I wanted to do. And I felt this tightness in my body. Now I've got to go see the next patient. And I'm carrying this energetic experience with me. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So what I've discovered is that you need to have a simple grounding technique that will help you release that energy before you get to the next person. So releasing the baggage in puja so that we can be free and present for God. We should also be that way with God in the patient, God who we're serving. Both gods, God in the image, God in the patient. So how do we do that? So everybody has their own technique. A simple thing of how to get anchored in the present moment and feel stable and firmness so that your mind is not ruminating about the past or you're not anxious about the future. I thought someone just told me this is a very simple way is when you're standing up or even sitting, but standing up, I felt myself feel all the tension that you have in your body. Feel it, just visualize it going out through your body and into earth. Feel it being released, the tension just flowing out. Visualize it coming out in your body, your torso, out through your legs and into the earth. And feel the energy going into the earth, Mother Bhumi. Let offer that energy into her. And what happens as you visually, mentally do this, you find yourself starting to stand up straight. Find yourself becoming a little like Tadasana, like the mountain pose. And when you do this, as you do this, you start to see your mind stops like thinking about past and starts becoming conscious of the present. You start noticing the light. You start noticing the clock. You start noticing things that are here present to you. And in that way, you now become present to the person you're here with. Simple technique. Do what works for you. The second step here is another technique that also has worked is that this is taught by Deepak Chopra, the stop technique. S-T-O-P. Stop what you're doing when you're feeling that rumination. T. Take 3 deep breaths. And exhale through your mouth. Then O. Observe what's happening within you. And then proceed. He said, doing this helps, again, bring you back into the present moment. The next step, that's maybe a continuation of this, is letting go and releasing. When I come into a patient's room, the great thing about chaplaincy is you start to become aware of what's under the hood. I start to become aware of my own biases, things that I'm carrying with me that I didn't know I was projecting out. So I may come into a patient's room and sometimes fundamentalist, I may react differently, but especially Christian fundamentalist. I find myself closing up and reacting. So how do I let go of that? How do I let go of my limiting ideas? Sometimes I may meet people who are very political activists who are very, activated by their politics. And then my mind may go into a different way of thinking. In chaplaincy, we have to serve the patient according to their needs, not according to our needs. So how do you then just let go of your limiting ideas, your prejudices? We all have this. We're bringing this into every encounter. When you talk about fixing, that's also a prejudice that we have, that we want to fix something. We feel something's broken. So how do we let go of this? So in puja, we did this Buddha Shuddhi. So here, what was working for me is another continuation of this, is that one methodology is that feeling like just taking the light, visualizing light, and visualizing light going into starting from your legs, feet, feeling the tension in your feet, squeezing your feet, and just letting go. Visualizing the tension in your ankles, squeezing your ankles, and just releasing. Just doing this with various parts of the body, started getting my body, making it soft, making it relaxed. And when I discovered my body was being soft, my jaw was getting relaxed, my tongue was softening up, my eyes, we have that intensity, was relaxing. Guess what happened? My mind started relaxing. It started becoming receptive, open, and just okay with whatever situation was present. There's a direct correlation between the body and the mind. And if we work with our body, we can also work with our mind. So that was a way that I found, and then just another simple technique. Also, I was doing this, taking a picture of something that, when I looked at it, softened me up. So for some people in our chapel, they have their favorite kitty cat. They look at that picture, it was something. For me, I was just thinking of Holy Mother. There's a picture of Mother that I have. When I looked at it, I just remembered how unconditional loving, just seeing her face, seeing the softness, it softened me up and allowed me to relax, release. Then there's this invoking the divine presence. And the idea here of invoking the divine presence is basically that we said in puja, in order to experience the divine, see the divine, you must become divine. So here, the invoking the divine presence means like feeling that I am divine. So it may be as simple as soham, soham, I am he, I am he. The idea is you want to chant maybe your mantra, an affirmation. You start to feel, when you're saying it, you feel complete. You feel full. You feel that love within your heart. And as you chant this love starts to flow out of you. Because you want to be cautious when you're serving. As you're serving, you want to make sure that, am I serving? Am I looking for any validation from you? Am I looking for any type of gratification as I'm giving you? Am I looking for some nodding? If I'm feeling incomplete, if I have holes in my soul, I'm going to be looking for you to complete me. So whatever I'm doing, I'm looking for a sense of like, I'm looking for your acknowledgement to say, hey, you're a good person. You're good. You're okay. But if you're full, then you don't need to be completed. Then you can give from the fullness, truly give unselfishly. So by doing some type of affirmation, the idea is that sometimes we'll visualize the Ishtadevata in your heart. And as you chant your mantra, visualize that Ishtadevata becoming more luminous, more powerful. Om, you are love. You are truth. You are beauty. Visualize it, the light emerging all over your body. Ultimately, the experience should be Aham Brahmasmi. I am he. I am she. I am Purna. I am whole. I am full and I am complete. This is what you should do. And with this, you serve. So with that feeling now that I am that, then the next step is then recognizing the person you're serving as the divine. Vivekananda said, let everybody do what they're doing, but just be fully convinced that who they're serving is God. You need to get a feeling or a conviction, he says, that the person you're serving is God. How do we do that? Anybody have any techniques?
Naivedya buddhi.
Naivedya buddhi. Okay. So how do you then practically, how do you do this?
Well, I mean, everything is within the mind, but when the minute you start thinking Naivedya buddhi, it's automatically that God comes into you.
Okay.
His vision comes into me.
All right.
So in other words, you are offering this to God.
Okay, so you're making, maybe it's an affirmation that you're saying here. So just a simple way, I'm giving you some practical ways. Maybe it's like mentally saying in your head, Mother, I salute you. When you meet the person, you say, Mother, mentally, Mother, I salute you. There was a Swami, Bon Bihari Maharaj, he used Swami Muktananda. He was in Benares, and he used to serve patients. What he would do is you'd call each patient, say you'd call him Devadatta, and you'd say Narayana. Oh, Devadatta Narayana, how are you doing? Oh, Bob Narayana, how are you? Oh, Hari Narayana, how are you? He would make the connection. He'd orally say this, Narayana with the name, linking. We are now, remember, we are changing our neuroplasticity. We are trying to think God in the shrine here is God in the human form. We're reconnecting a link here. I think, normally the simplest way, namaste, with that idea, I'm serving divine. One way I discovered was working for me was in the hospital. When I go into a patient's room, just starting off like, oh, hello, Mr. Jones. Thank you. I want to thank you for meeting with me today. I want to thank you for speaking with me today. I want to thank you for taking the time to share with me today. By thanking them, what are we doing? To me, you start to recognize the person, what they're going to share is they're opening up their own inner shrine to you. When you're saying thank you, you're ringing the bell before you go into the temple, acknowledging, God, I'm here, and thank you. And what you do is then you're thanking that person for allowing them to share their inner space with you, to share that the openness, they're going to open up and become vulnerable, and they're going to expose themselves. They're going to share that divinity within themselves to you. And you're acknowledging that, the inner sanctum of that person. So just by simple, usually we say it at the end. Why not say it in the beginning? Remember you said about shifting? Instead of there's a shift. When you say thank you, you all of a sudden become the one in gratitude and thanking the person for what you said to me, for the opportunity you're giving me to allow me to share that inner sanctum, your inner space with me. So when I meet patients, I'm thanking you. So I want to thank you right now for meeting with me and for sharing with me. It starts to open them up. Because what I want is a heart-to-heart conversation. So, and sometimes doctors would touch the patient's feet sometimes. So that would be. Then the last thing here is, what's our intention when we serve? What's our intention? And it's good to just have this in our mind. Normally we don't say it, but what really is our intention when we're going to serve? Are we serving with ultimately, is it truly unselfish? If it's truly unselfish, you won't feel then. Sometimes we do things, but then again, our subtlety ego comes up. We don't get the recognition. We don't get the praise. We don't get the affirmation. We'll project that. So just to notice, am I looking for validation, praise, or love in this? Am I looking for some acknowledgement? Is there any hidden agenda? Or is my intention truly to serve? Let me give you some sankalpas that some swamis have offered. Because what you set your intention, that's where the energy flows. By setting the intention, you're going to direct your energy in this optimal way. So one intention can be like this. Coming to a patient's room, I'm thinking to myself, oh, Mother, I have to act. But please see to it that which I do is in accordance with your will. I have limited knowledge of what I should or should not do in this situation. I can't see the ends of my action. So you please see to it that what I do is for the welfare of myself and the welfare of others. What we're doing here is we're kind of like setting the intention that, Mother, I really don't know what I'm doing in this situation. You operate through me. You become the instrument. Honestly, I really don't know. And because I have to quick, what this helps do is it helps shut down my own mind. a lot of times when I'm interacting with people, I'm using my own mind. I'm thinking, I'm listening to you, but I'm not truly listening to you, because already in my mind, I already have like set thoughts that are ready to come out as soon as you stop what you're saying. So in this sense, I'm opening up to something greater. I bypass the mind and I'm coming into the heart. In this moment, I really don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the divine's going to have, what this service is all about. All I know is that I'm going to be present in the situation, and then whatever comes up from my heart, that's how I'm going to respond. It's becoming vulnerable. It's saying that I don't know, and it's opening up to our greater sense of what we call our buddhi, our higher intellect, or divine wisdom. And finally, St. Francis got the prayer like, maybe the intention could be like, where there's hatred, Mother, let me sow love. Where there's injury, may there be pardon. Where there's doubt, let there be faith. Where there's despair, let there be hope. Where there's darkness, let there be light. And where there's sadness, let there be joy. So these are intentions that we can start thinking. We can have a preset intention. And ultimately, you're going to notice that your intention is going to come out in the act of the situation sometimes. Sometimes what my intention is, Mother, give me peace. Give me peace. I'm in a situation, I'm in a bank teller making me wait for half an hour, and I'm getting impatient, and I'm starting to boil over. And at this moment, I'm like, Mother, grant me peace. Give me peace. So the intention will become spontaneous. Offerings here. So normally we offer, in puja, we offer flowers, incense, and light. And the flowers can simply be a symbol of our love. I'm offering my love to you. The incense is that which sort of like moves. Incense is kind of like, can be symbolized as prana. I'm offering my prana to you. And light, I'm offering my inner light. I'm offering whatever, my light is the Jivatman. I'm offering myself to you. The Jivatman is offering himself to the Paramatman. So here, when we do, what are our offerings to the person we're serving? Anybody? Can anybody tell me like what they offer? What are their offerings?
Assistance.
Assistance?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm offering assistance. Anybody else?
Your training and expertise.
Your training and expertise. Okay. So what I've discovered, that things that we can do in every engagement, in every interaction, are these two things. We can offer presence, and we can offer active listening. And what I mean by presence here is offering a compassionate, loving spaciousness for the person that we are serving. We are bringing the fullness of our being, and we're giving that person our full attention. How? By deeply engaging with that person. There is nobody else in the room, just you. You are the divine. You are God. You have my full attention and my full presence. There's no sense of hierarchy. Instead of just being like, I'm here for you, we're just, I'm here. I'm here. So what do you envision presence in your life feeling like? Let me ask you this question in a way that maybe we can embody it. The best way maybe is, what do you feel you bring presence when you see a very holy person? What is it you would do in the presence of someone like the Dalai Lama or St. Francis, or maybe your own guru, maybe Swami Harinamananda? Or even I sometimes think, if Holy Mother was, the living right now, I'm here, what would my presence entail? And you can think about it like this. What would your posture be like?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be mindful of your posture?
Sure.
Would you be fully alert? Even sometimes like, what about your clothes? Be mindful of that. Where would your cell phone be?
Mm-hmm.
What about eye contact? Where would your eyes contact be?
With their eyes.
Now, this is a good question. When I asked this in North Carolina, you know what they told me? At their feet. So this is culturally something different sometimes, but here, I think in our culture here, it's best to have contact with the eyes. Because, there's a concept called darshan. You've heard of this, right? What does darshan mean?
A viewing.
What?
A viewing.
Viewing.
Yes.
Okay. Viewing. The literal meaning of darshan is seeing.
Seeing.
So what does it mean, Jana? What does it mean to have darshan of God? What does that mean? What does that mean? Seeing God, right? So darshan, it sounds like you're seeing God. Darshan literally is a two-way junction. Seeing, yes. Is seeing that not only are you seeing God, but you feel God is seeing you. You feel God is seeing you. This is darshan. So when you're looking at, let's say, the image of Mother, and you're looking, sometimes they say, in the art of Zen seeing, you have to see something for 20 minutes. You have to hold your attention for 20 minutes, and then it starts speaking to you. And I remember my Catholic monk was like, he'd look at this rock and look at it for 20 minutes. And as he looked and looked and looked, he started seeing, oh, these crevices are the crevices in my life. Oh, these dimples, these knots are the knots that I have in my, this rock is speaking to me. You should feel when you're looking at the divine being, and when we see the divine, not even calling God here, you, in the second person, you, Mother, are here. You see me and I see you. There's a direct contact that's happening. That's darshan. So in that sense, eye contact. Where would your attention be? Completely on that person. And also, let me ask you this question. How would you feel about silence with that person? How many of us are uncomfortable with silence? Okay. Again, uncomfortable silence with another person. When you're interacting with another person, would you feel uncomfortable just being in silence with them? Most of us would say yes. And we'd feel the need to fill that space. But here, presence is also being comfortable with silence. Because speaking not only means with their words, it can also just be with their emotions, with their physical gestures, and with their presence. Before Swami Sarvadevananda, who's the Swami who's in charge, ultimately in charge here, there's a Swami Swahananda, who is Brother Shankara's guru. And I was his sevak for a few years. And what I remembered was this, is people would sometimes, they'd come in with these problems, they'd all have all these difficult problems. When they came into his room, he'd sit there. And then when I'd ask him, okay, yeah, go ahead, tell Swami your problems. All of a sudden, like, oh, I can't remember my problems. And I remember that there's this kept happening again and again. And I thought to myself, it wasn't as if their problems were solved, but being in the person's presence, they were dissolved. They were dissolved. And I think the biggest gift we can give another person is presence. When Holy Mother, Sharada Devi, was meeting with devotees who were grieving, who had lost their children, they'd be crying and crying and crying. Mother would not offer the person a tissue paper and say, oh, put out the tears like they're fire that need to be put out. She would start crying even more loudly than her. She'd feel the pain of that person and really, truly, genuinely cry with that person until that person felt like they were just being understood, they were being heard, they were being seen. And they felt that pain had just gone away. It is presence that is one of the biggest gifts we can offer a person. It makes us feel, when you're truly present, that other person will start to feel soft, relaxed. You become attentive. You become embracive. You become spacious and open. This is what presence is. You know what presence is? No, I'll come up. Okay, we'll get to it later. Okay, the second thing is active listening. What I mean here, listening means paying attention, wanting to understand, to value, to respect, and to ponder what the other person says. This is what active listening is. How many people truly hear us when we're engaging with anybody? What is my offering when I'm listening? I'm offering, again, like the offering here. What is my offering? I'm offering my full attention to you. Why? Because you are God. I respect you. I'm offering my time and energy to you because you matter. I'm offering you a dialogue because I want to partner with you in our shared growth. What I find in chaplaincy, what most people want is all they want. Most people want, they just want to be heard, truly heard. So as you said, what that means is just to be curious, is to be engaged, is to really listen. Because when you listen, you absorb. There's something that is built up within the person that they need to release. And they can't find a place to release it. One of my chaplains was telling me that Hindu patient in the hospital, he went to go see the patient. The patient had some type of cancer, and the patient was constantly having family and friends there. And the chaplain sort of saw the patient and said, "Oh, there's so many people here. You're so lucky." Mm. And the patient said to him, "But I feel like nobody's hearing me." Mm. And the patient just made one statement of something like, that must feel really hard. And that opened up tears within the eyes. It's true. And the guy started crying. How many times can we just listen? I had an exercise. If we were on a retreat, what I would do is partner you up with another person, and one person talks, shares something, the other person listens. And in 2 minutes, notice your mind, how much you want to fix, how much you want to intervene, how much you want to say. What's happened, remember I talked about when we're listening, what's happening in our Hindu mind concept? It's called chitta. I forget the concept. We are putting things in pigeonholes. You're talking, and I'm putting your ideas in a pigeonhole that wants to respond in a certain way. So you're telling me something is triggering a certain idea with me, and then I want to respond in that idea. We all do it. Even our swamis do it. You may tell them something. Oh, got it. This is what you should do. We cut you off before you can truly express yourself. There is beauty. It's the one thing that we all need. So how do you do this? You do this by clearing out all of the external noise. What that means is turn off the cell phone, turn off any other distractions. When you do puja to God in the shrine, you're putting all your distractions off. Same thing. When I'm worshiping you as the divine being, I should put off all other distractions, external distractions. Second, shut off the internal noise, the internal monologue that's going in our head, the preconceived ideas that we're thinking about the person, things that we're going to say, the things that we need to fix. We have to shut that off. Third, see and hear the whole message of that person. Allow that person to speak without interrupting. Allow them to express what's in their heart, and avoid sympathetic responses and trying to fix them. The end result is that they feel they're being heard, and you feel also you've heard them. It's basically what I'm saying is that you've disarmed yourself, so your heart is receptive. They've disarmed themselves, so they become vulnerable and shared the totality of everything they're feeling. They've poured it all out. And in this way, there's a sense of fulfillment and a sense of completeness between the two people. This is what I think when Holy Mother, Sri Ramakrishna was doing puja to Holy Mother, you know that Sorashi puja, yes, and they both went into samadhi. The same way, if you can truly listen to the person and be fully engaged with them, the end result should also be they feel complete, you feel complete. This is a puja. And now I'm going to finish this off here. To come back to what does it mean to serve God and divine beings? You guys told me that. All right, I feel joy. You said I feel joy. You said
no. I said happy.
Happy, and you said
She said joy.
Joy. Okay. All right. Well, all I can tell you is this: when I was serving my Father, I wasn't feeling joy. I wasn't feeling happiness. What does Vivekananda say? Vivekananda says, let me say this here. Okay, this is the picture of Holy Mother, the Compassionate Holy Mother. Okay, what does Vivekananda say? These are, next time I come, we can actually invoke, let's just get it. Okay, Vivekananda says, if you can serve God truly, then you should not feel anger. You shouldn't feel a hierarchy. You shouldn't feel any resentment. You shouldn't feel jealousy. He says that. Okay? I'm asking myself, who's he talking to? Because when I serve the divine, when I do it, I feel all this stuff. That's what comes out. He's talking to, if you do it truly, you become a realized soul. But here we're talking about serving the divine human beings as a practice. Practice for what? To purify ourselves, to purify our hearts. That's what Vivekananda said. So when you're purifying your hearts, and when I'm serving someone, what starts to happen? The anger, jealousy, envy starts to come up in the process of service. You'll notice this. If you truly serve, these things start to come up within us. This is called there's an epic called the Samudra Mantana. Anybody heard this epic?
Yes.
The epic is basically that there is this nectar, Amrita, in the bottom of the ocean. And you have the gods and the demons, asuras, devas, asuras, want to get this nectar of immortality. So what do? They take the snake of Shiva and they start to stir, like a back and forth, a tug of war, stir, creates a commotion. And this commotion, this swirling, starts to bring things up. And what is the thing that comes up? The first thing that comes up is hala hala. Do you know what hala hala is? It's this poisonous black substance that comes up. What does it do? It starts to suffocate the gods and the demons. What do they end up doing as they're suffocating? They're like, help, Shiva, help, help. Shiva comes down. What does he do? He opens up his mouth. He absorbs that hala hala into his throat. He neither swallows it so that it infects him, neither does he spit it out so that it's like gossip to others. He just makes space to hold it. That's why he's known as the Nilkanta, the blue-throated one. In the same way, when we are doing service, with our self-awareness, we need to develop self-awareness. We start to see things coming up within us. Swami, I was serving. It happens, serving the Swami. Swami didn't say thank you for what I was doing. Swami didn't acknowledge like all the hard work, like our boss doesn't acknowledge us. Our, partners, I've seen partners cook for their partner, spend all this time the whole day, and instead of the person coming home and honey, I'm going to the Dodger game. I won't be back till 10 o'clock. We feel anger. Like, God, where's my love? Where's my respect? So this is the hala hala that comes up. When that comes up, you have to learn how to digest it. That's what you have to learn. Because if you don't, this is what we call, it comes up as this emotional toxicity. Ramakrishna calls it the kama, krodha, the satripu, jealousy, anger, greed, hatred. All these things come up. They come up in the field of action. That's the beauty of karma yoga. Karma yoga is to reveal the stuff that's hidden inside us. The reason we don't know it is because we see through it. We don't see it. By having it come up, we start to externalize it. We see the anger. When I was at that bank, I didn't know that my impatience was there. When I was waiting for 25 minutes, the irritation starts happening. I start getting impatient. Are you guys gonna pay for my validation?
Yeah.
I'm like, God, it's like, can't we get a second teller here? Are you guys all on lunch break? All these passive aggressive things start to come up. This is the hala coming up. So, and if we don't deal with it, we try to repress it, it develops into fatigue. It develops into irritability.
Mm-hmm.
We develop lack of enthusiasm. We become cynical and negative. So we have to learn how to deal with that. And just basically, the simple way of doing that is just the simplest way here is first recognize the emotion. So when you feel it coming up, start to see, I'm feeling angry, feeling irritated. And the best way to do that is kind of like, I had created an emotional vocabulary list. I took an emotions class because one thing, what I found as chaplains is that in our class, I noticed the women are much more emotionally aware than men. When the question was like, what are you men feeling? You know what the answer was?
Good.
Nothing. It's equivalent
Fine.
to there's a state in Sushupti, in Vedanta, we call it the dreamless sleep, where you're aware of nothing. That's what we're feeling. I'm aware of nothing. No emotions. We have to start becoming aware of the subtle emotions. So by doing that, we create a vocabulary. So you start to understand that, for the soft emotions, intense emotions, and then soft emotions, medium emotions, and intense emotions. So we could start off as something as what I said, as an irritation, can develop into something of ultimately a full-blown anger, okay? And so we start noticing when we're getting irritated, start to know something soft, because when they become an intense emotion, we're already consumed by it. We can't do anything about it. It's already taken over us. Start noticing it when it's soft. And then the idea is kind of like, you can understand repeatedly what's causing this to come up. Am I being triggered by a certain person, certain situation? Start noticing these things. Label that emotion and then express it. One thing that I found was helpful was that just an easy way to become familiar with our own emotion is that here's an emotional chart. It's called, on one side, you have energy, and the other side, pleasantness. And one side is like, are you feeling pleasant, or are you feeling energetically and pleasantly? If you're feeling, say, for example, low energy, and you're feeling unpleasant, then it's sort of like you're feeling sad, discouraged. If you're sort of like, maybe you're here and you're wishing that, oh, I wish that I'd gone to something else. I'm kind of getting bored. I'm getting lonely. I'm getting tired. Okay, these are unpleasant experiences, low emotion. If like with my dad, I started getting angry. That's an unpleasant emotion and an intense emotion. It starts helping me become aware. If there is something that I'm feeling kind of like pleasant but low emotion, maybe I'm meditating and I felt a good meditation. I feel a sense of peace, chill, satisfied, contentment. Or if I go to a kirtan concert, high energy, high emotion, I'm feeling cheerful, upbeat, enthusiastic, ecstatic. Just start to become aware of our emotional state, basically. Once you're aware of your emotional state, ultimately the idea is this: whatever emotion you're experiencing, simply offer it to God. So when you're feeling, sort of like when I'm feeling sadness, or if I'm feeling irritated. A technique that a Swami, Harinamananda, taught was that when you're feeling it, visualize it like a flower. Om Namah Shivaya. In your mantra, I offer this sadness to you, Shiva. I offer my anger to you. Om Namah Shivaya. Visualize yourself offering that flower to the divine. Because here, the divine is like the divine fire of consciousness. Whatever you put into that fire, that itself burns up, yet the fire remains always pure. So whether you're feeling happiness, anger, irritability, bring it up to your awareness, visualize it, bring it out, externalize it. Om Namah Shivaya, Swaha. Anger, Om Namah Shivaya, Swaha. Sadness, Om Namah Shivaya, Swaha. Every time. And as you start to do this as a practice, you start to feel a little bit lighter, a lightness starting to come into you. So until you start wanting to be more and more free. So what we've talked about basically is a sense of how to serve the divine in human beings. And it's important to remember, this is a practice. What do I mean as a practice? I'm going to have this, I'm going to set off with an intention of preparing myself just like puja. I'm going to prepare, get myself focused, grounded, so that I can be, just like I'm going to worship the God in the shrine, I'm going to give you my full attention, preparation. And then what are my offerings? I'm going to offer my presence. I'm going to offer my listening. You're going to find that you can do this for maybe like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Then the mind starts to wear off. It goes here again. That's okay. That's a practice. Note that. Okay. And then again, get grounded again. And then if you want to make it a practice, try it again as practice. Start off with the sankalpa. My intention is to serve the divine as a human being with no agenda. As agendas come out, as all these things come up, Om Namah Shivaya Swaha, offer to God. And through this process, you'll become pure and pure and pure. Until ultimately, when you're with the person, you're seeing the divine essence, you're seeing divinity, God in front of you. And you're having this grateful, you become humble. What do I mean by humble? Humility is the ability to see greatness in others. You see, wow, presence God. And then you start to see that in this interaction, I thought originally I was the one serving this person. What do I find? God came in the form of this person to teach me this lesson. The bank teller was to teach me patience. Diksha, I need to develop forbearance. It's a seed within me. But in my exercise of trying to practice patience, I'm developing forbearance. It's a muscle. It's small, and I'm developing that muscle. This exercise, this engagement, this interaction was truly an engagement for me to manifest the divinity within me. That's why the God has come in the form of this patient, in the form of an angry patient, in the form of a patient who's sad, in the patient in the form who's joyful, in the patient who's inspiring. All these ultimately, I thought, Vivekananda said, when he looked at Mother, Divine Mother, Kedarnath, I forget the place, he goes, he saw all these decapitated statues there. He said, if I was you, I would not have let this happen. And the Divine Mother all of a sudden said, are you here to serve me, or am I here to serve you? And then she realized that, oh, it's Mother doing all this. I'm nobody. So this is ultimately where you're going to see, you start to see every person you heard, you, all gods in all these forms. And as God, whoever I'm focused with, there's a lesson that I'm here to learn. What's that lesson? Am I ready to practice? And I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail again and again. And what I start with, and I'm just going to finish off, what I was doing was in patience, all these patience, I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting all this energy. I'm feeling like all this, there's a lot of energy exchange unloading on me. And I'm feeling this burden. And then in the morning, every morning what I do, I unload that energy. Mother, all the patients I serve, you take care of them. I'd offer each patient as a flower to the mother, divine mother. Om Namah Shivaya. This patient, they let them all be, I'll surrender them all to you. You do with them what thou wilt. And you feel this transference of energy from you to the Divine Mother. Let her shoulder the responsibility. Let you be free. And as you do this, then you have more energy. You don't feel like you're carrying, you don't feel like it's up to you to make all these decisions. You feel spontaneous. And when you're connected with the divine, then everything is joyful. You're like, oh wow, I look forward to seeing like what's going to happen in this situation. Like, oh mother, yes, this person's angry. I had this one Jewish patient. He started hollering at me. He's asked me, I came there to serve this patient. It was Hanukkah. I wanted to give the patient like the things that they need for Hanukkah. And the patient asked me a question about Judaism. I didn't know the answer. You call yourself a chaplain? You don't even know this? What's wrong with you? And then I thought, so and he starts hollering at me. I'm getting burnt up in the process. And I'm thinking, okay, well, let me practice tiksha, forbearance. So I tried doing that, right? I stayed there for 35 minutes, getting completely burnt. And my supervisor told me, you know what, you should have left after 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because your presence was creating irritation with that person. You have to know when to stay. You also have to know when to go. You have to know what your limitations are. Because you're also not respecting the divine within you.
That's right.
There's divine here, there's also divine here.
That's right.
So you have to listen to both. What's the divine saying now? After I thought I'm going to help that person. So let me take all the forbearance, let them unload in me. Well, that wasn't my job at that time. And I just created, I was great, and that guy was just completely angry. But you know what really happened at the end of that? I just remembered. Is there anything else I could do? Well, I need a yarmulke. The hospital, they lost my yarmulke. You have a yarmulke? Let me check. It turns out we have a storehouse of things. I got a yarmulke, and he's like, oh, thank you so much. So, I mean, but my chaplain, no, you have to know, you have to be self-aware. You have to know what you can do and what your limitations are.
That part of that is self-care.
It comes from self-care also.
But knowing your limitations, being able to take care of yourself.
Right, exactly. So all this is a process.
Sort of continuing this conversation, when you do leave a situation, in general, I think when you have a skin in the game, so to speak, it's easier to sort of remind yourself and practice. But when you don't have as much skin in the game, then you feel like more like self-care and I want to leave.
Right.
At what point do you not do that, like sort of running away from the field, what do you call in Sanskrit? I forgot the term. Ranchod, like you're leaving the field because you can't deal with something.
Because you can't deal with something, yeah.
Right.
So you have to know where you are in your evolution of growth. So there's some people, like evolved souls, they can be with anything. They can digest everything because they don't absorb. They are true instruments of God. It comes and it just goes through them. They're like Thakur said, it's like a line on water. The line goes, but then it just completely disappears again. So how much, again, do we hold it? So we have to find the optimal level, what challenges to us. We have to work like exercise. If I go into the gym and try to bench 225, it'll just fall flat on me. I've got to find what I'm comfortable with and then work, what's the next step? What am I pushing myself with? So find out where you are. So, we talked about this earlier, like if you're, again, you have to develop from an unhealthy ego, you have to develop a healthy ego. So someone said like, well, if I do work, remember we talked about like, if I need name and fame to do good work, do it. And what's going to take you, what will help you get you more energy? What will get you more active? Ultimately, then you see that it doesn't do it for me anymore. I want something higher. So you just have to figure out what is right for you. Each of us are different. So when is it that I push myself? And then after that, I find like maybe I carry in my mind, but then I can let it go afterwards easily? Or what are the things I'm holding on to and then they create tension within me? That's too much of a challenge for me. I'm not ready for that yet. Yeah.
When we were talking at lunch, we sort of started talking about these mystical experiences. Do you have time?
Right, that's a different topic. Yeah, yeah. I think we've had our limit here now, so I think it's time. Yeah.
Yes, we always have to keep pending.
Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu. Chama. All right, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And I'd like to, next time I come, I'd like to hear your practice of serving the divine in human beings, how it went for you. What I'd like to hear is how, if you're being transformed, you know, sort of like record like how the journey is for you. When you're trying it, what's working. This is an experiment. You have to try what works for me. 2 years of chaplaincy has been all about experimenting with different patients, knowing when I'm getting burnt, and then seeing how to let go and what works, what doesn't. So I welcome you on this journey.
Thank you.
So we haven't seen each other in a few years.
Yeah.
I'm Jillian, the hospice chaplain.
Oh yes, Jillian, yes.
We communicated while you were
Right,
at
right.
And I was also on your death and dying panel.